nobody there for Tucson. Rain will take it away with speed up the right wing side. Velarde tripped up, centered for Fagimo to the left circle. A shot, score! In his first game of the year, guess who? Lias Anderson makes it 3-2 with 1:56 to go.
All right. Here we are back with another episode of Making It Rain here for our preview of the Colorado Eagle and Ontario Reign second round of the playoffs. But as always, I got to introduce my man, the myth, the legend, Joe Paterino. How you doing, man?
Fired up, ready to go. We've got a exciting Kings series. The Reign cruised through. They did win in overtime in the second game, but whatever. They cruised through the first round in a sweep. Should be an exciting, high-scoring affair against Colorado. Lot to be excited about.
Yeah, it was California cruising. You know, like we it looked pretty good there. We are recording right now in between Game 5, in between the first and second period. So, so as of right now, the Kings up 1-0. So hopefully that continues going. They're playing a good first period. Let's talk about the Reign, though. With the first topic, Reign transactions here. This was kind of out of the middle of nowhere. I don't know if somebody thought this was coming because, I don't know how much depth they needed. Maybe because it's a longer series, they had to have these transactions in before the start of the series for them to count, and they just wanted some extra depth. But the Ontario Reign back, three familiar faces: Nikita Pavlichev, John Letherman, and Christian Kassestuhl, either recalled from the Swamp Rabbits or Kassestuhl was signed to a PTO. So let's talk about them in general. And do you think this is just depth? Do you think that maybe one of these guys actually sees some pretty decent time? How do you view these moves?
I think it's depth. Particularly Letherman, I don't see him playing. Like, I think Hrenak is your backup for Villalta.
And now that he's a hockey royalty veteran, I mean, that boosts him up even more on the depth chart, right? I mean, well actually, no, Villalta's there too, so they both got that extra superpower going for them.
Yes, right now. Exactly. I think, the Swamp Rabbit season is over, so it could be just a situation where, and in fairness and full disclosure, I don't know all of the rules here when it comes to what of these transactions are allowed and the minimums and whatnot. So
you need a hockey lawyer to get most of that stuff figured out.
But I mean, maybe Pavlichev, depending on the situation, I could see get in. I think depending, again, situationally, I don't think Kassestuhl gets in unless something happens, right? Unless there's an injury or something like that. At least I'm not expecting it. So I know we were fans of Kassestuhl's when he was up. He did a really good job, I thought, filling in when he needed to. And I think Pavlichev when he was called upon as well. So I think part of this could depend on, they still have a couple of guys that are out. I know Tyler Madden being one of them. We'll see if he makes a return this series. We saw the return of Alex Turcotte. He's back. So we'll see. My guess is, though, I wouldn't plan on any of these guys being in the lineup, barring something happen injury-wise.
Hey, maybe it's just a confidence thing. Hey, Kings are like, hey, we're winning this first series. Those guys are the four guys up there. They're not coming back down, so we need to add some more depth. That's a nice positive thinking there. And it's just interesting for me. I think Pavlichev adds a little bit of size.
Mm-hmm.
Colorado does have a little bit of size, some skill, some speed. All their games are high scoring. So, I agree with you that he would probably be the only one that I would see slotting in. But maybe off the cuff question here: with every single one of the four guys that are able to go back down to the Reign, having played a little bit in this series, Velarde's gotten a couple games, Byfield's gotten a couple games, Kupari is starting tonight, and obviously Spence has played, but Stetcher back-to-back games with a goal. Do you see any of those guys getting sent down to maybe give the Reign a boost, or you think the strategy of holding firm until the season's completely over is going to keep?
I think they're with LA until LA is done.
Yeah, I do too.
Yep.
All right, and so the pun coming up, his reign continues. TJ Tynan, back-to-back MVP. A little applause for him. Bringing it in. What a signing. I mean, just fantastic. I'll let you start with this one, Joe, because we're both fanboys of him. I mean, you were wearing his jersey preseason pretty hard. What does this signing mean to the Reign? How did he really carry this team all year? And does he have it in him to carry them to the Calder if the Kings keep winning?
I think so. It could have been something that when this happened, when they brought him in, it's like, we got all these prospects. Why are you bringing in a guy who's a veteran center, but he's one of the best players in the league. He's coming up an AHL MVP season, so he's not going to play like third line center. This is going to be one of your top centers. But what about Byfield? What about Turcotte? What about all these Kapari? All these young centers we've got? Why are you bringing him in? And I think you still need that guy like a TJ Tynan who has shown to be successful at the professional level at the AHL. And I think with as young of a group as the Reign had and as big time of prospects as these guys are, this is the exact type of guy that you probably needed to bring in so they could see this is the work that you need to put in to get things done on a day in and day out basis. And we interviewed at the start of the season, or even before the season, Kevin McGlue, who does play-by-play for the Colorado Eagles, to talk about specifically TJ Tynan. Is like, this guy is a workhorse. He is not one that's just a finesse player. He's going to roll his sleeves up. He's going to get to work. He's going to go into corners. He's going to win battles. He's got a streak to him, a mean streak to him, and he's a pro. And I think that's a big part of why Ontario, the Kings brought him in is he's a pro's pro to show these younger guys kind of, quote unquote, show them the way, if you will. And that's kind of the intangible, if you will. The on ice, he makes everyone around him better. It is incredible. Martin Ferk's played on his line pretty much exclusively, but it hasn't mattered who that other player is. That other player is going to, whether it was Ward more recently, right, who's been chipping in points. You've seen the work he's done on the power play. They've had 3 or 4 different power play quarterbacks at the point. It hasn't mattered. The power play set a record this year in the AHL, and it's because of TJ Tynan. They've had guys in and out of that bumper position. It hasn't mattered because TJ Tynan he's the cog in the wheel that makes the whole thing go. And I don't know. I don't have enough in my vocabulary to speak about how good of a player he is, how important he was to the Ontario Reign this year. And to answer your question, yes, I think he is that good, that he is very capable of taking this team on a very deep run in this playoffs. I think, it's going to be in a situation, we'll get to it in a bit with Colorado, to where they're going to need a lot more than TJ Tynan to beat this team, but still, like, he's that good. I'm glad he won the MVP. I would have loved to see him get 100 points and break the assist record, but still, what a season, what a signing. And full marks to him. We joked on our show here, like, we could give the Reign Player of the Week to pretty much TJ Tynan every single week, but we can't. For purposes of entertainment, we can't do that. So we just named the award after him. So
the Tynan Award, and well deserved. And I agree with you. And I think everything's ran through him the whole season. And it's kind of been a kind of interesting dynamic. You've had this veteran leader or a couple veteran leaders in Tynan and Sutter on the team, with a lot of young centers, a lot of young forwards. And the Kings have that in Kopitar and Deneau, with a lot of young players and a lot of young forwards. And so you kind of have that yin and yang, so to speak, or mirror image, except for, no offense to Kopitar, he didn't put up 80-something assists this season. So, TJ Tynan, center one there. No, I'm just kidding. Kopitar's luxurious season, and he's doing a good job in the playoffs so far. But just tip of the cap to TJ and
for sure,
and how that's going, and that power play, and just well deserved. And if obviously the club did right by him by pulling him up for a couple of games to get him a major league paycheck, but he probably would have broken the assist record, being that what you said, he only had it. What you posted it this today was 2 times this season where he didn't have a point in back-to-back games.
Yes, and the second time was the last 2 games of the season where, yes, he personally was going for 100 points and assist record, but like the team their spot was clinched, so there was a little bit less to play for, if you will. To go back-to-back games without a point only twice all season that's crazy at the professional level. That's just crazy.
That is crazy. Well, we're going to turn it over here to our sponsor from DraftKings, and we'll be right back. All right, this interview with David Hrenick is brought to you by our sponsors, DraftKings. Hockey fans, the pursuit of the Stanley Cup is on in DraftKings Sportsbook. An official sports betting partner of the NHL, has an unbelievable offer for the most exciting playoff in sports. New customers can bet $5 on any team to win and get $150 in free bets no matter what, win or lose. Looking to turn a small bet into a big payday during the playoffs? With DraftKings same-game parlays, you can do just that. Create your own parlay by combining multiple bets like which team will win, how many goals will be scored, and more. It's your shot at even a bigger payout. DraftKings is safe, secure, reliable, and best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet just $5 on any NHL team to win and get $100 in free bets no matter what. That's code THPN at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Minimum age and requirements may apply. See show notes for details. All right, we are back. Thank you to our sponsor, DraftKings. We're coming back to you the second part of this podcast in between the second and third period of Game 5 of the Kings and Oilers here while we're recording it. What a period there, 2 goals.
Whew.
And is it just me or the Oilers the dirtiest team I've seen the Kings play in quite some time?
Well, you've got a couple of – I mean, Evander Kane he plays on the edge. He's
eye gouging, knees to the testicles. If you call that the edge, then sure.
Well, there's another guy. I will say this. I mean, and if you saw the end of that power play, Darnell Nurse is flat out nasty.
People, yeah,
nasty. I mean, he gave a 2-handed swing to Danault right before. I mean, you just said it. Was that? Again, I don't want to be a homer here, but I didn't get a good replay, but. Was that a headbutt? I mean,
it was a headbutt.
I mean, he is.
Evander Kane starts the second, like fighting Danault, like what is going on here?
Yeah, it's they. Whew. Yeah,
Again, and I know, like the NHL and is. I'm sure the referees don't want to like take this game out of the Oilers' hands by just calling all this stuff, and you want to let some of this, but like headbutting and and all that kind of, like. I don't know.
I'll say this. It would have been very easy for the officials at the start of that period to just even it up. They didn't. They gave they gave Kane the extra. It would have been very easy to even it up after the most recent little flurry there with the Cassian cross check. They could have just evened it up. They didn't. So I'll give the referee some credit there that the Kings have had power plays here, and this is an opportunity with a chance to put this game away. Which we'll see if they actually do that. But I think the referees. In the past, you probably would have seen them even that up because, like you said, they don't want to, play a factor necessarily, but they deservingly gave Edmonton penalties, or excuse me, in the extra penalties in the Kings power play on that. So
let's get going back to the rain analysis here. Topic is Kings of Southern California. The Ontario Reign took on the San Diego Gulls in the first round and won the first 2 games. Didn't even need to go to Game 3. Let's start with Game 1 here. Reign wins 7-4. What a flurry going on. I mean, you thought about it, and as you recall, if as all of our listeners do listen to making it rain all the time, that we had thought this series was going to be hands down just a domination by the Reign. 11 seconds in, not a good look for that. Josh Lopina with the goal from. Perot and Alex Lamages, and then Hunter Drew with 7 minutes in, and I'm like, okay, are we gonna be a first round exit? Like you have that typical fan overreact, and you just got to take a deep breath and continue waiting for the updates there, and we got it. And the perennial underrated player on the Reign this season for most people, I think on social media, guys that are watching the Reign game in and game out. Know this guy, but Samuel Fagemo was just chucking in goals all season long. Gets a quality one to get the Reign on the board, and then one with about a minute left on the power play. He gets 2 goals in this period.
Yeah, it was a big period from him, and obviously the Reign needed that. You mentioned the slow start. They're down 1-0, 11 seconds in. I didn't love the second goal that Peralta gave up. but I thought he rebounded well after that. Things got a little feisty too in that period, which we expected between.
They always do between those teams.
Yeah, with these two teams. But you mentioned Fagimo, a really nice shot on the first goal. The goal to put them up with a minute left is a one-timer on the power play from the left side. Really nice shot. And he's been great. He really, really has. And he's kind of, I think you hit the nail on the head. He's kind of flown under the radar, and a guy that is, I don't think it'll be, I wouldn't sleep on him going into next season. He started to make a little noise in training camp this year. I wouldn't be surprised if he did again next year. And I'll also say credit to Austin Wagner with the shorty, real nice short-handed goal he had to tie the game at 2. So.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, you're looking at the power play woes this year. I think anybody who has a decent shot is going to get every opportunity to make that squad, because that definitely needs to change. So you're coming in here, and Wolanin and Kachev. Kachev with a nice period too, 2 assists. And I also liked Alex Turcotte's play in that period. I think he set that first goal up really nicely with his effort. Played consistent hockey, and I've liked what I've seen from him since he's been back from injury.
You're going to get he's going to give you an honest effort game in and game out. I don't think you're going to see a whole lot waver from him. The way he plays, his style of play, he's going to be in on a forecheck. He's going to be a really hardworking player. He's going to play both ends of the ice. Like, I think you're going to get that type of play from him, that type of effort from him. As far as the production goes, that will remain to be seen. But from an effort standpoint and a forechecking standpoint, the way he gets in on pucks, you're going to see that every game.
In the first period, Ontario outshoots them 12-7, and then they get the one the shorty in the power play. So the special team is playing a big factor in that first period. Going to the second, the Russian back on the table. Vladimir Kachev pots a goal here on the power play with assists from Turcotte and Wolanin. So familiar hunters here against the goals, bringing out the big guns, and the power play strikes again.
Yeah, really nice goal too from Kachev. He's quietly kind of returned to action here in the last little bit, and he's made an impact. And I'll say in the second period, there was 9 penalties combined between the two teams. We mentioned this got a little bit feisty, and I thought Matty Villalta, we started slow in these playoffs with those 2 goals right off the hop there in the first period, but he really settled in the rest of the way, and he had a really good second period, I thought, for Ontario here to keep the game in a 1-goal, to keep the Reign in the lead, and then allow Kachev to put them up by 2. So I thought he had a big second period.
Yeah, I agree there. And it's from the wild, wild west in the second. We go with just 1 penalty in the third, and it didn't end up biting the Reign at all. But the goals net the first one, Trevor Carrick from Hellison and McLaughlin. And then it was the Akil Thomas show here with 2 goals in the third period. I know one was a empty net shorthand, but still very quality period from Akil Thomas.
Another example of, San Diego scores, Carrick scores a few minutes in, and Akil Thomas answers right back just a couple of minutes later. So that's, again, not even letting San Diego get really back into the game, getting them a chance to get back into the game. Akil Thomas puts them up. And talk about another guy who's been just hot as hell coming down the stretch is Akil Thomas. Big time down the stretch for the Reign. And he's, in this one, a couple of goals in that third period, huge.
Yeah, I mean, outside of obviously TJ Tynan, because it's his award, I would say he was probably the MVP of the last month of the season for the Reign. Stepping up in a big time with injury, really finding his way, a lot of key goals. That bumper roll, he really just took to it right away. I thought he was probably the MVP of April for the Reign. Yeah,
for sure. He had a really good end of the season, and I think when he kind of encapsulates. You look at this Reign team, and everybody's going to think of, TJ Tynan's won the MVP, Martin Ferk scored 40 goals, but for you to make a deep playoff run, you're going to need some secondary scoring, and they got that. I mean, that top line, they only had 2 points, and 7 goals were scored, but that top line only had 2 points, so they got scoring spread out throughout the lineup, which was big. I thought Villalta settled in nicely after a rough start. And the special teams, they go 2 for 4 in the power play, and they were 4 for 4 in the penalty kill. So a really well all around game for Ontario after the first 5-6 minutes.
Yeah, you're looking at Fagimo gets the first star with 2 goals. Kachev gets a goal and 2 assists, and then 2 goals for Akil Thomas. I think you could have rotated those anywhere, and you would have been fine. I would have been fine with how that dialed out. Villalta plays the full 60, saves 22 of 26. I thought the defense did a good job at just limiting opportunities. Like you said, you were upset, and so was I with the second goal of the game. But I felt like they limited a lot of the bad shot or the good opportunities for the goals for most of the game to allow Villalta to see a lot of these shots. I don't know if you agree with that or not.
Yeah. Overall, I think that's fair. Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I think that it wasn't perfect, but my thought coming into this series was Villalta just had to be good enough because the Reign were going to score. And this game, at least, it played out that way.
Moving on to game 2 here. This one went to OT, so we'll start it off in the first. And the man who finished the third period on fire continues in fuego. Akil Thomas, third of the postseason, with a Hickey and Wagner apples on that one, 4 minutes in, and then really they just double up with Will Lannon with a goal from Ferk and Jared Anderson-Dolan.
You know, and I'm going to give San Diego some credit here because I thought that was a wrap. You know, the Reign, they're up 1-0. They are the much better team. They get up 2-0 5 minutes into this game. Things were looking good. You know, the Reign weren't able to get that third one to kind of extend the lead and really put San Diego away. But really good start for the Reign here in that first period.
Very much so. The second period, complete utter chaos again. 5 penalties, and then you have a bench minor, too many men. So just a lot of mental mistakes there. And then the special teams was pretty awful with a shorthander, and then giving up a power play goal with 6 seconds left in the second.
Oh, that was it was a dagger. I mean, obviously the Reign ended up winning this game, but they were so close to getting through with that penalty kill. And again, they'd been perfect in game 1. The kill has been shown signs of life of being better down the stretch of the season. So I think this would have been big for them if they could have killed that off. But you know, obviously a goal with 6 seconds left came from the left side circle. So and then you had a game going into the third.
You definitely did. And you look at that goal with 6 seconds left, you think back on if the goals win this game, that's what you would think about. You're like, they could have closed out the period, and everything like that. And it's been big in the Kings and Oilers periods, closing out those last 2 minutes of the period, really playing hard and taking each period one by one. OT gets it. Power play, of course. TJ Tynan knocks it home from Lard and Ferk with the assist.
Man, it was an offensive zone penalty too that Hunter Drew took in overtime. Just a tough penalty. And you know, they played with fire a little bit. San Diego, Ontario had a late power play in the third period that they didn't convert on, and so they get one in overtime, and it just had that feel like, this one they're going to get. And yeah, Tynan we've seen him do this sometimes. The slapper from the right circle. He's not always going to pass it. He's got a shot that can beat you, and he sent the Reign on to round 2. And I will say this again: he's taken some heat sometimes between the pipes. Villalta was really, really good in this game. Really good in this game. I think it was the second period in particular. Full marks to Matt Villalta. I don't want to go on to the next round or wrap up the series without mentioning, I really think he had a strong second game here.
Yeah, the stars of the game did as well, and he was second star of the game. And I thought that he played fantastic in this game. The special teams really let him down on the shorty and everything like that, and not finishing out that period. I mean, he could have been pretty close to perfect. There were some lapses on the defense, and obviously sometimes a goalie's job is to pick up his team, but it also goes both ways there. So upcoming here, we're going to be talking about the Colorado series right after this break. And we are back after the Kings win in overtime. Adrian, MF, and Kempe taking it to business. Woo!
Your guy.
Woo! All right. What a move. He was playing so timid most of the game, and today he comes up big. What a play in overtime. And to end that game, all the momentum in Edmonton's favor, and the Kings do not panic. They go into overtime knowing that, hey, new period. Let's wash all that stuff away. Let's come and get it.
So listen, and I'll say this now, and maybe it's a little, whatever. Nobody will believe me, but like, if there's ever a team that, so the Oilers come back, they tie the game, the place is going bonkers. If there's a team that I'm not concerned about losing it in the moment, it's the like Kopitar, Deneau, Quick. Like you got Alex Adler, IFL. Like I'm not worried about these guys getting like panicked or being overwhelmed by the moment. Like so I actually wasn't concerned about that. Like even with the overtime, like, okay, just get through it, the intermission, and then regroup. That's all. And I figured the Kings could do that. And hey, Kempe gets a burst of speed in the neutral zone, and the rest is history. A great play, great goal. It was awesome.
Great way to set the tempo for the Deneau line. I mean, Grunstrom,
what a shift.
Grunstrom's been great. Tonka, I guess this year's just been the year of the forgotten toys, right? Like a lot of these guys, like Athanasiou and Tonka and Trevor Moore and Kempe, for most fans, wanted him shipped out before the season started. Mm-hmm. Big progression from a lot of these guys and a lot of big moments.
And it's guys that when they're called upon, they answer the bell. Like Grunstrom has had some moments this season where, he's not in the lineup every game, but when he gets called, he's an impactful player in his way. And Athanasiou is the same way. So they've been able to do it up and down the lineup. And today was another example of it. They're going to have to – they played with fire today, right? The penalties, Edmonton scored 2 more power play goals. They scored another shorty. Special teams is just killing this team right now. And somehow they're up 3-2 in the series despite that. But if they can stay out of the freaking box, they've got a real chance to close this thing out at home in Game 6.
God, after that weak penalty on Deneau, I was like, this game's tied. Like, you just had that gut feeling like they had all the momentum. We were going on the penalty kill. But it did not matter because Juice had other options there. Let's hope that this series goes, this next upcoming series against the Colorado Eagles, maybe is a little less stressful than that overtime game right here, and we can just put it away in deciding faction. But what are your keys to this? Let's go over some stats before we get into depth analysis. Sorry, I didn't mean to prep your question and then take it away. Eagles finished third behind the Reign by 6 points. You're looking at roughly a 244 and 207 against, and they're a high flying team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So how do you feel we match up there?
So I think you mentioned it's a high flying team. This is going to be a series where I would expect there's going to be a lot of goals. If you're a casual hockey fan, there's 2 series that you should be tuning into in the AHL playoffs right now, and that's Utica Rochester and Ontario Colorado, because there is going to be goals in both of these series. Listen, it's going to be a tough one for the Reign because they're going to have to score, which obviously they've shown that they can do, but they're going to have to also keep pucks out of the net, and they haven't done a great job of that. But I guess Colorado hasn't either, and Colorado's had their number. They've outscored the Reign 29-18 this year. Part of that was, weighted down by an 8-1 beating that Colorado gave Ontario earlier in season, in April. But this is going to be I was very confident that Ontario was just a significantly better team than San Diego. So I had said it in the series preview that I did that it would be a sweep. This one, I'm not so sure. There's some really dangerous players on Colorado. This is a really good team. I think if Colorado gets into a little bit of penalty trouble, I think they took 11 penalties in the 2 games combined against San Diego. That's going to be a problem for the Eagles because their penalty kill is not very good at all. It was worse than Ontario's.
I think that's was going to be my point to you is this kind of reminds me of this kind of similar matchup that the Kings are facing right now, is that the Reign are so good on the power play, and the Eagles are bad on both special teams. The power play and their penalty kill are, I think, bottom 2 in both the league. If I'm looking right now, or in the Pacific Division, yet they've found a way to win games, which is what we're looking at here in the Big Boy Series. So the Reign have to do a better job at have to do a great job at capitalizing, and then not allowing the Reign to dominate the 5-on-5 play.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because they've got some really good players. Dylan Sakura he had 75 points this year. He's one of the best players for this squad. Kiefer Sherwood is a really good player as well. They've got the most outstanding defenseman. Jordan Gross was just named the AHL's most outstanding defenseman. So this is a really dangerous team. Sakura lit up the Reign. I believe he had 10 points in the 6 games that the two teams played. So they're going to try to run and gun with you, which is fine with the Reign, but you're going to see some games where it's going to be high scoring, and you may see a game, particularly in Colorado. It's a tough building to play in. The first 2 games in the series are in Colorado. So I think if you're the Reign, you want to get out of there with a split. But so the Reign ended the season, ended Colorado season in Colorado, and it was a raucous building, and it's going to be a tough atmosphere. And I think if the Reign can get away with a win on the road, I think that's a big start to the series. But it's going to be a challenge.
Yeah, both got big players, and as you said, those 3 guys you mentioned, Sherwood, 5th in the league in points. Sakura's right behind him in 7th, or tied for 6th with Ferk, and then in 11th is Jordan Gross, so with 65 points. So their assist machine that Spence was earlier in the year for us. So it's going to be tough. I mean, obviously, we're going to get Turcotte back. It's going to help. Getting Helge Grans is going to help that team. I mean, they have been playing with the team, but getting those back in is going to help. And I think a player like Turcotte's going to have to come in big in the series. And Akil Thomas is, like we've been mentioning, as far as the 5-on-5 play, the Turcotte can help mitigate that with his pace of play and his tempo that he loves to play at, to where the Reign are not always dedicated to winning games on special teams.
Well, yeah, because I think if this is played mostly at 5-on-5, I don't know that I want to say it favors Colorado, but they're certainly much more. They're going to be in this series much more than if they're going to spend time in the box, because that Reign penalty power play, I do think is going to be pretty lethal. Although again, it's been good still, right? But this isn't Dursey or Spence at the point, and as much as Frederick Allard has been solid up there, he's not quite the same puck mover, if you will, than there's other. He's got a rocket from the point that he's going to let go, but it's a little bit of a different look from a puck movement standpoint. But I think this is where, I mean, if Villalta can have a series where, we've talked about where he's had stretches this season where he's been really good. And he's had stretches this season where he's not. I mean, he's given up a bundle of goals. I think 18 goals in the 3. He hasn't played all 6 games against Colorado, but he's given up, I think it's 18 goals that he's given up in the 4 games that he played against Colorado. So that can't happen if the Reign are going to win this series. So he's going to have to be on his game much more than he has been against Colorado earlier in the season.
And I know it's a small sample size, but, with Colorado not having, it's only 2 games, but they're 25% on the power play and 100% on the penalty kill. I don't know how many total penalties were taken in the 2 games, but, a lot better than last and second to last. Like I said, small sample size, but in the playoffs, teams get hot, units get hot. And so it's something to take a look at going into this matchup.
It is. And I think, the good thing is, I mean, it was 11 penalties that they killed off. But if they take that many, if Ontario has 11 power plays in the first 2 games, they're probably scoring at least 3 or 4 goals. I mean, their power play is significantly better than Henderson. So,
well, the Reign are 33% in the playoffs, so they're cooking too.
Colorado, they can't give the Reign that many power play opportunities. So that's, I mean, again, if the Reign can capitalize on the power play, that's going to be what gets them through this series, I think. But it should be an exciting series, and it's a tough one because I really don't know I don't have a good feel for this one either way. I mean, I can easily sit here and say if Colorado's going to spend time in the box, then the Rain should roll. But otherwise, you've got two teams that can put pucks in the net, and you've got goaltending that is average. So it lends itself to a high scoring series and games that can be back and forth, and games that even if you've got a 2-3 goal lead, you're not out of it. So I think it's going to be a fun one to watch as a neutral. But it's tough to say. I mean, I could see this one going either way, honestly.
Yeah, both goalies. I mean, you're looking at, Justice for Colorado is allowed 4. Matthew Villalta is allowed 6. So, I mean, you're not really like nobody's, putting, shutouts on the board for either team.
That ain't going to happen this series.
Yeah. And so you're looking at, I think it's just going to be clutch moments. Yep. And being able to play at all times. And with the Rain getting these players back, and I think they have a lot more stout team than what they were playing Colorado with for the second half of the season.
Sure.
That I believe that you could see the Rain team maybe have more success 5-on-5 and still dominate the power play. I'm taking Rain in 4. I think Colorado's too good at home, like you said, in that building. And so I think the fact that I'm going to go Rain in 4 in this one.
When I first was thinking about this, I honestly was going to say I think Colorado is going to win the series. But the more I thought about it, and I think you're right, that the Rain definitely, Turcotte is going to be back. I don't know that they had Kachev at the end because they played Colorado 5 times in April, 3 in the final 2 weeks there, 3 games in a row in the final week, I should say. And so they were missing some guys. But now Granz is back, Turcotte's back, Kachev is back. They may get Madden back. I think with the reinforcements that are back, I think with guys like Allard and Noje kind of much more settled into their roles, and where they're slotting. Akil Thomas has been hot this last month or two. So I think all those things considered, I do think the Rain will win the series, but I think it goes the full distance. I think it goes 5. I think they split the first 2 games in Colorado. I think they split the next 2 in Ontario, but Ontario is able to come away with a win in game 5. Again, should be an exciting series, should be a fun one, but it's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, it definitely will be. I think that I think it'd be something interesting. And then fans, I know whenever you listen to this, Sunday, May 15th, game's 8 p.m. I've seen the Rain advertise $20 tickets. So, I mean, $20 to go see the first, to see game 3. Let's pack that house. Cause I know Colorado's always loud. Let's get there, pack the house. It's a Sunday. You're not missing work. You're not doing anything. It's $20. You can get $20 panhandling on the 5 freeway to go see, a game over there. I think if and when the Rain win the series, I'm going to go player of the series or most impactful person of the series will have to be Matt Villalta. Not saying that, I mean, you could definitely see some 7 to 6 games in the series.
Yeah.
But I think there's going to be a part in this series where he's going to have to be locked down when the Rain have a lead to maybe steal a game here.
I think that's fair. I think that's a good shout because, I mean, in a series like this where you have 2 high-scoring teams, it's not going to exactly be the end of it's not going to be shocking to anybody that Tynan has a bundle of points, that Ferk scores a bunch of goals, unless we see somebody like a Helge Granz, or if Alex Turcotte, maybe finds his scoring touch this series to kind of propel them. Other than that, I think you're right. I mean, I think if Villalta, it's almost like he's going to have to be the Grant Fuhrer of the old Edmonton Oilers. Just make their saves at the right times. Doesn't matter how many you make, just make it at the right times. And if you win the game 7-6, you're on to the next one.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting here. Very, very stressful series we just watched. We're going to have another high-flying series here for the Ontario Rain. Do you have another player you want to shout out that you think might have a deciding factor in this other than Matt Villalta?
Well, I think that I will look more toward a guy like Akil Thomas and the way he's been playing. Like, I fully expect him to just continue this the run he's on. He's been great. He's providing depth scoring, and I think when you have enough at the top 6 for the Reign that the other teams have to account for, and it allows him to get opened up and be a factor. And he's been great in the bumper spot in the power play. And I think we just said that Colorado took a number of penalties in the last series. And if they do that again, he's going to get a lot of looks on the power play in the bumper spot. So I think Akil Thomas is going to be somebody that has a chance to do some damage this series.
Yeah, so the schedule is looking like, for everybody wondering, if you're in Colorado and you're a Kings fan or Reign fan, and you can go see some games Wednesday, Friday at Eagles, and then Sunday, day off, Tuesday, Wednesday, back-to-back. I don't know off the top of my head how that aligns with this Kings Edmonton series off the top of my head, but I think we're going to win in 6 as well.
Let's hope so,
let's
right?
go. Let's go on.
There
We
we
don't have
go.
to worry about it. So let's I think that's probably going to do it for us here. As always, you can go to hockeyroyalty.com for all these articles, pumping them out every single day. Interesting one that just came out. I mean, I know Kings fans aren't really about the draft lottery that happened today. Congrats Montreal on getting Shane Wright. The Bleacher Report came out with a mock draft on who we're taking, left shot defenseman. I can't pronounce his last name because it's Russian. Interesting pick there. So draft season is upon us. So, but Kings aren't going to be looking that way until the playoffs are over, and hopefully that's well into June. Yeah, and you can find us at hockey_royalty. Thank you for DraftKings, promo code THPN and the Hockey Podcast Network. Appreciate you, Joe. I'm gonna let you get to sleep. I know you're on the East Coast. Got to get some Z's, my man.
Absolutely. And I will say real quick too, there will be our guy Kiffin McGinnis, who covers a lot of the Reign stuff for us. He's got a series preview coming out on Wednesday morning. So you can read about the Reign and Colorado season series preview on Wednesday.
Sounds good. Kiffin always putting out some good stuff. I am at Rando Commando 24, and he is JW Paterino on the Twitter. Go Kings, go.
Go Kings, go Reign.
Woo!